And the award goes to Newbon.
Hi. This is unreal. I just wanted to say, I know I don't have much time. But I'll give it a shot. Thank you so very, very much for everybody that voted. Thank my incredible fellow actors and the nominees. Unbelievable talent. To be even considered amongst you is extraordinary, so thank you very much indeed. To Swen, to Larian, to all the writers, to Stephen Rooney, the writer of Astarion, I'm going to forget everybody, to Pitstop, who worked so hard, the directors, my fellow actors, 248 incredible actors that gave it heart and soul. To mi familia, gracias para todos, gracias, celeste gracias, y Coco también. And to my agents, I will thank you later. I'm sorry, I'm going to wrap it up apparently. One thing I will say, please, if that's okay, the community has reached out to so many of us at Larian and said they were seen and they were represented by this game when they lost hope, they felt isolated, they felt alone, and this game brought them together and gave them something to push through to help them all. And to you, I want to say thank you so much for seeing us. I appreciate it. You're not alone in this. None of us are. Thank you.
Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale were groundbreaking games when they first released, offering innovative turn-based strategy gameplay that felt like a modern version of chess with the rules of Dungeons & Dragons. The success of these games led to the creation of a sequel named Baldur's Gate 2, titled Shadows of Amn, which was also a massive hit, selling 1.5 million copies by December 2002 and continuing to gross upwards of 3.5 million copies sold today. The major elements that pulled players into the Baldur's Gate zeitgeist was the script, voice acting, and the ability to build relationships between the main and supporting characters. Granted, when the original games were made, acting was mostly provided by the narrator during the animated cutscenes, while the other actors used a theatrical method called cue pickups, where they recorded only the first sentence in their scripted dialogues, forcing the players to read the remaining scripted lines. That aided the producers in saving tremendous amount of time between directing the actors and in the production room, while simultaneously offering the players immersion through reading. That offered me a unique type of engagement and sustainment to the game's world-building attributes. When thinking retroactively, that was a significant tactic in how Black Isle Studios was able to produce 3 major title games and all of their expansion packs within a 5-year period. Hi, and welcome back. My name is Andy Dents, and I am the Gray Bearded Bard. I appreciate you taking the time to watch my videos, so if you like this type of content, please hit the like and subscribe buttons to help me get to 3,000 watch hours. That way, Google and YouTube will start paying me for this type of work. Now let's get started on the last leg of our journey. If you haven't checked out parts 1 and 2, there will be links in the description below for your reference. Allow me to deviate some, but follow me here. The release of PlayStation 1 titles like Final Fantasy VII back in 1997 introduced consumers to third dimension gameplay elements that were never seen before on any home-based entertainment platform, especially regarding personal computers. At the time when the company was named Squaresoft, they proved to be the most innovative game creators due to the evolved turn-based and strategy RPG style that captivated the gaming community as a whole. But it can't go unsaid that mostly had to do with PlayStation's evolved graphics generation, which blew PC games completely out of the water. Popularity in PC games continued to decline back in 2001 and 2005 when titles Final Fantasy X and the original God of War, who was made by Santa Monica Studios, were produced for the PlayStation 2 and introduced gamers to in-game cinematics that were scripted and portrayed by real-deal voice actors. The groundbreaking developments from Squaresoft and Santa Monica Studios meant that future gaming had to emphasize the necessity of hiring quality directors and actors to play immersive characters, ensuring the players grow attached and wholly bought into the narrative-driven gameplay. Concurrently, this was the same time frame Black Isle Studios developed and produced the original Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale titles. That consequently meant, despite having award-winning titles, the genre was shifting in a way personal computers could not keep up with, and what I believe to be one of the main contributing factors that led to Black Isle Studios selling their IPs and closing up shop. Video games basically became soap operas using an ensemble cast and offered sentimentally grabbing scripts while acting out provocative interpersonal situations, leaving the player wanting more. This was around the same time we noticed video games adapt Aristotle's 3-act theatrical structure, popular to modern movies and plays. While 3 acts is not a hard rule, the structure became an industry norm as video games grew more cinematic, providing another element Black Isle Studios struggled to keep up with in terms of script writing and directing. Video game cinematic directors began casting actors like Troy Barker, Sam Witwer, Natalie Dormer, and Susan Sarandon, who all have a wide acting range from live, voice, and CGI styles. Just consider more recent titles like The Last of Us, Days Gone, Mass Effect Andromeda, and Dishonored, in which the actors played roles respectively. These games continued to build upon the foundation set by Squaresoft and Santa Monica Studios, where hiring and matching the right talent with the proper role meant they could produce blockbuster level video games. I preface all of this just to provide perspective and framework that Larian Studios had to compete with when it came to delivering a multi-million-dollar success in 2023's Game of the Year award. But it cannot go unnoticed that Neil Newbon, who voiced Asterion, also won this year's award for Best Voice Actor, certainly adding gravitas to the topic. IMDb reports an extensive list of 251 actors who have either held a single named role, who voiced multiple background characters, or a combination of both. This is a far cry from the OGs, where the same principal actor would voice many other main characters the longer the series went on. Let's all press F in the chat one time and pay our respects to Jim Southworth, who passed away in November of this year. Many sources indicate a director for in-game cinematics is wholly responsible for the development of narratives, animation, motion physics, internal and external organizational communication, and a myriad of other job descriptors necessary to complete the project. Given what we now know about the job description, that meant Jim had profound influence on hiring the actors and probably having to recast several, since Baldur's Gate 3 was a 6-year project. During the acceptance speech for the Game of the Year award, we can see Neil and the other cast members emotionally celebrating Jim as they closely worked with him on the game. While I know he didn't work on the original games, we can find clever hints to the older titles, meaning that Jim was a fan of Black Isle Studios' work and he clearly wanted to pay homage to them. You can see more on that topic in my second video. Jim understood his assignment. He knew he needed to develop Baldur's Gate 3 in a way to introduce new players to the franchise while not alienating the older ones. Baldur's Gate 3 saw the return of Jihara and Minsk, voiced by the lovely and talented Tracy Wiles and Matt Mercer as playable characters. Jim also saw it fit to include the god Ball, played by Doug Cockle, and Seraphoc, played by Reed Pepper, all providing connective tissue from the OGs to the current game. Returning characters and reoccurring themes are video game staples that Larian Studios leveraged to bring a layer of familiarity and continuity to the audience. These tropes are a great way to connect the two games that were released 23 years apart from each other, while adding a new and rewarding experience to us, the old bards, who played the OGs in succession. I, for one, am glad there are connecting factors between the games, allowing players to explore unforetold elements and provide closure to incomplete themes the OGs left us pondering over. Also, they did not discredit Ball Saga's impact, giving all the players a shared experience throughout the lore. Before transitioning to the next section, Baldur's Gate 3 is an RPG with a diverse cast of exciting and provocative companions, each possessing unique personalities, aptitudes, backgrounds, skill sets, and baggage. Building relationships with your companions is vital for progressing through the main story, as it unlocks new quests, companion abilities, and alternate endings. So we all have to say thanks to Jim Southworth one last time and appreciate this golden egg he left for us all. So let's talk about some of these companion mechanics now, okay? Remember earlier when I mentioned that Baldur's Gate 3 offers commentary and connections to real-world hot-button topics? That carries forward when understanding that companion selections can be cliquish or tribal in nature. Think about how you were when you were either in middle school or high school, and there were clearly groups of people based on how they dressed, how they acted, or the classes they either took together or the sports they played together. All of those groups became competing cliques, each with their own respective drama. Baldur's Gate 3 explores ideals such as race, religion, and societal stereotypes that each character represents can have terminal implications. During the game, the player will hear derogative statements made at your teammates that trigger certain dialogue options the player must choose based on their playstyle and prior decisions. I'm not saying this game is a psychosocial experiment and that if you choose to slaughter all the goblins that makes you a bad person, but it does give the player opportunities to emulate different outcomes. Very early in the game, the characters Lae'zel and Shadowheart are diametrically opposed to each other while using incomplete stereotypes, and it's up to the player to either diffuse their internal conflict or accelerate it. While Baldur's Gate 3 allows players to recruit many companions, the player can only slot 3 into their party at one time, not including the opportunistic one-off companions and familiars. Most of the playable companions can be found pretty early in Act 1, with fewer opportunities for the other ones throughout the game. Some companions have their own unique requirements to be recruited. They might require simple persuasion checks, while others require completing peculiar quests or meeting specific criteria, such as in the recruitment of Druid Halsin or the Drow Minthra. After 4 playthroughs, I can't figure out a method to recruit both, so if you have one, please write it in the comments section below. Choosing companions that complement your playstyle can significantly enhance your overall gameplay experience. For instance, if you prefer a stealthier approach, you may want to recruit companions skilled in thievery and sneaking, thereby optimizing the hide function. If you prefer a more combat-focused approach, consider recruiting companions skilled in melee, ranged, or magical combat. You can also combine both modalities for a balanced approach as well. Regardless of your playstyles and personal convictions, once you have recruited the companions, building relationships with them is the next step. This involves interacting with them in various ways, such as dialogue selection, gift giving, and completing specific quests. Each companion has differing and competing likes and dislikes, so paying attention to their reactions is essential. When you party up with companions who have conflicting personas, you will hear how they interact with each other outside of camp, and you will hear exposition to better serve your own choices. Maxing out relationship stats with your favorite companions becomes rewarding in several different ways, but most players just generally have sex with them, and that influences the differing ending possibilities after completing the game. As noted, building relationships with companions is possible through choice-dependent dialogue. Regularly talking to your companions can reveal more about their personalities, backgrounds, and motivations. Asking them questions and genuinely showing interest in their lives can deepen your relationship and unlock new dialogue options. When your companions have something they need to talk to you about, you will notice an exclamation mark over their head. These will generally pop up after certain actions have occurred or the player has interacted with certain objects. Pro tip: if a companion values honesty, lying and cheating in front of them will negatively impact the relationship. However, demonstrating courage when the companion values bravery can strengthen the relationship and make in-camp interactions more interesting. You will know when the relationship reaches critical mass when that specific companion airs out their dirty laundry, and there is some stank laundry in this game, and then offers their inline quest or leaves the camp permanently. Choosing to accept them as who they are and confirming the player will help carry that baggage positively engenders the connection. Circling back to real-world society, it's a very human thing to do when we as humans choose to lift someone out of their depressive state or acknowledge that their mistakes are only mistakes when they do not become better from them. Baldur's Gate 3 does a great job at mirroring in-game character growth to humanistic development through championing positive behavior traits. Newbon stated during his acceptance speech that the fans reached out to him, indicating that they felt represented during this game because of certain areas where they lost hope, and Baldur's Gate 3 helped provide that perspective to them, letting them know they are not alone. Baldur's Gate 3 is exceptional in teaching the player that we never truly know what someone else is going through in their lives, and how that might impact the way they react. It's really easy to put on a brave face when you're hiding things from other people, but it is truly brave when you're able to let people in. Someone else has made you comfortable and has accepted you for who you are. Me personally, getting Lae'zel and Shadowheart to make nice or develop romantically is a great great segue back to the topic at hand. I do apologize for the philosophy and meta commentary, y'all. Gift giving is the last relationship building mechanic for Baldur's Gate 3. Each companion has their own preferences when it comes to gifts, so paying attention to their likes, dislikes, and lifestyles will provide the player with the proper exposition in finding the correct items to give. Giving gifts that a companion likes can significantly increase their approval rating, leading to new dialogue options and other benefits. I am not saying giving Asterion a greater potion of healing will get him to love me more, but finding him the proper items and artifacts that represent his character will. As an example, I found 2 artifacts and gave them to Lae'zel from the Arcane Tower. Those artifacts directly related to Lae'zel's Gith heritage and religion. A cutscene was triggered when I gave them to her, and it offered developmental dialogue towards our relationship as she became vulnerable and exposed about opening up why she is typically steadfast in her culture's caste system. As you can imagine, the choices offered could have been highly critical during a vulnerable moment that would have had a profound and permanent effect on how Lae'zel viewed my playable character. Good job, guys, we did it. We are now here at the end. As I conclude my thoughts, let me share with you the remarkable aspect of Baldur's Gate 3, building relationships with your companions. Just like in real life, you need to pay attention to their personalities, values, and preferences to strengthen your bonds with them. You can unlock unique content throughout the game by interacting with them regularly, completing quests, acting in ways that align with their morality, and giving gifts. While the game provides insight to real-world sociology, it's essential to remember that it's merely an emulation and doesn't wholly represent who you are as a person. Baldur's Gate 3 allows players to create custom characters whom they can easily project themselves onto while exploring choices they typically would not make. So take advantage of immersing yourself in the game and discovering the depths of your character personally. That's the #1 reason that made Baldur's Gate 3 receive the highest award in 2023, because it developed such a strong community base. Thanks guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I really don't have a great sign off now, so I'm just going to go ahead and leave it at this awkward silence.